Dear students, in this class we'll discuss about the discovery of the fundamental particles, that is electron, proton and neutron. The first we'll discuss about the discovery of electron. So how electron was discovered. So before going to the discovery of electron, so we'll see that common statement, that is like charges repel and unlike charges attract each other. So Michael Faraday, so he's the scientist. So he studied the discharge cathode rays discharge tubes. So he's the first scientist who studied the discharge of electricity in a cathode ray discharge tubes. Cathode ray discharge tube. So this electrical discharge through the particular gases is observed at these conditions. You have to keep in mind, at very low pressure and high voltage. So Michael Faraday first studied the passage or discharge of electricity in the particular cathode ray discharge tube. So the pressure of the gases, so we can adjust the pressure of gases through vacuum pump. So this is the experimental discharge tube, through which is otherwise known as a cathode ray discharge tube. So it is made up of glass containing two pin pieces of metal called electrodes, which are sealed in it. So this is one electrode which is a negatively charged electrode, that is cathode, and this is positively charged electrode, that is anode. So which are sealed in a glass tube. So that is about cathode ray discharge tube. When sufficient voltage is passed through the electrodes, current starts flowing through particles from, we know that current is moving from a negative electrode, that is a negative electrode cathode, to positive electrode, that is anode. Why? Because the charge is flowing from cathode to anode, and these since they are passing towards a positively charged electrode, so these are known as cathode rays or cathode ray particles. So in the absence of either electric field or magnetic field, so cathode rays, they travel in a straight lines. So this is possible only in the absence of electric field or magnetic field. So this is a vacuum pump. This is vacuum pump. This is a cathode and this is anode, and we can see the passage of the rays on this fluorescent screen. And next, so the flow of current. So how we can judge about the flow of current? So the flow of current from cathode to anode can be checked by making a hole in a anode and coating the tube behind the anode with the zinc sulfide. So these rays which are passing out, they pass through anode and strikes the zinc sulfide screen, that is ZNS screen. So by striking, what is happening? A bright spot is developing on the screen. So that can be seen. In the absence of electric or magnetic field, the cathode rays always travel in a straight line. So in the presence of electric field or magnetic field, the behavior of cathode rays is similar to that of the negatively charged particles known as electrons. The properties will be similar. So if you see the characteristics of cathode rays, so what are the characteristics of cathode rays? So these are, that means the electrons, they do not depend on the material of electrode. That means the electrode is made up of what kind of material? It is not depending on the material of the electrode and nature of the gas present in it. So it is independent of the material of the electrode and the nature of gas. So of the basic constituent of all the atoms are electrons. So the cathode rays are made up of particles, so which can rotate the paddle wheel, frictionless paddle wheel. So the cathode rays which are coming out at right angles to the surface of cathode, and emission does not depend on the position of anode. So that means the cathode rays will be starting from the cathode, right? So the cathode rays which are starting from the surface of the cathode does not, they are traveling towards anode. So it does not depend on the position of anode. It moves towards the anode because it is a positively charged. So the cathode rays are not formed in a evacuated discharge tube. So the cathode rays ionize the gas, indicating that they are charged. So if they are not charged, they cannot ionize the gas. So that means the cathode rays are having charge because they are ionizing the gases. That indicates that they are charged. Next, very important. So the charge to mass ratio of electron, that is E by M, E by M of electron. So J.J. Thomson, he measured the ratio of electron. What is E? E is nothing but charge of electron. E is charge of electron, where M is mass of electron. Mass of electron. So the ratio between the charge of electron as well as mass of electron, that is nothing but E by M ratio. E by M ratio. Though this has been calculated by using a cathode ray, tube and applying electric fields as well as magnetic fields perpendicular to the path of electron. So it is discovered, or it has been measured using the cathode ray tube by applying both the fields, by applying both the electric field as well as magnetic fields which are placed perpendicular to the path of electrons. So see here, so this is a positively charged anode, this is a negatively charged cathode. So this is a magnetic field. So this is the apparatus, so that is required to determine the EMF of an electron. So E by M ratio. E by M ratio. So the deviation of particles from their path. So when we are applying electric field or magnetic field, so how much deviation of particles has been done from their original path can be denoted by the magnitude of the negative charge on the particle. So the greater the negative charge, greater will be the interaction with electric and magnetic field. That means the deviation completely depends on the negative charge of the particle. So the greater the negative charge, the greater will be the deflection. Greater will be the deflection. And second one is mass of particle. Mass of particle. So the lighter the particle, the quickly it moves, and higher will be the deflection. So it is depending on these two. And third factor, the deviation also depends on the strength of electric or magnetic field. Why? Because when we are increasing the voltage across the electrode or strength of the electrodes, when we are increasing the voltage across the electrodes, or if you are increasing the strength of electrodes, the deflection of electrons also increases. So that is the third factor. See here, when only electric field is applied, see here, so when only electric field is applied, the electrons are deviating and hit the cathode ray at point A. This condition we can see only when the electric field is applied. When only magnetic field is applied, the electrons are deviating from their path and they are hitting this cathode ray tube at point C. At point C. So when both electric fields as well as magnetic fields are applied, so they are passing through a straight line and they hit the sulfide screen at point B. At point B. So this point A, this is only in the case of electric field, and point C, so it is only in the presence of magnetic field. If both the electric field and magnetic field are applied, so the electrons will be moving in a straight line. The path will be the straight line, and which can be seen at point Next, see here. So how far the deflections has been carried out by the electrons in the presence of either electric field or magnetic field, the Thomson have calculated the value of E by M. So that is E by M, specific charge. So specific charge. So E by M. So that is a charge by mass, where E is the charge of electron and M is the mass. So that E by M is nothing but the specific charge. So this E is the charge of electron and M is the mass of electron. So the ratio between these two, so we will get the E by M ratio, which is expressed in coulombs per kilogram. Coulombs per kilogram. Next, we'll discuss about the charge of electron. We'll discuss about the charge of electron. So see here. So this is the instrument atomizer in which the charge of electron, through this we can calculate the charge of electron. So another experiment, see here. So this is a Mulliken oil drop experiment. Mulliken oil drop experiment. This also explains about the charge of electron. So see here, the Mulliken oil drop experiment, if you see, the oil drops in the form of mist, which is produced by atomizer, is passed through a small hole in the electrical condenser. So when the oil drops are forming in the form of mist, when they are allowed to pass through a small hole, what happens? The downward motion of the droplets can be seen through this telescope with a micrometer eyepiece. So by measuring the rate of fall of these droplets, so we can see the downward motion of these droplets, how far if you see compare the rate of the fall of these droplets, the mass can be determined. The mass can be determined. And the air that is present in this chamber is ionized. That means it is converted into ions by beam of X-rays passing through it. So the electrical charge that is being developed on the oil droplets, that is due to the collisions with the gaseous ions, because the air has been converted into ions. So that electrical charge on the drops is acquired by the collisions with the gaseous ions. So the fall of these charged droplets can be retarded. Retarded means stopped, or accelerated, or increased, or made stationary. Can be made at a point, depend on the charge of the oil droplets. So that means the charged oil droplets can be stopped, or can be accelerated, or can be made stationary, depending on the charge on the oil droplets and the polarity, the electronegative difference, and or the strength of the voltage applied on the plate. So see here, by measuring the effect of electric field strength on the motion of oil droplets, so Mulliken concluded the charge, that is Q. So he calculated the charge on the droplets is always the integral multiples of charge E. So he has given the formula Q is equal to Ne, where Q is the electrical charge. Electrical charge is always integral multiples of charge, that is. So what is this Q? This Q is nothing but the magnitude of electrical charge which is present on the droplets is equal to integral multiples of charge. So in this chamber, the forces that are acting on oil droplet are the gravitational force. The gravitational force, and second force that is acting is electrostatic force. And next we'll discuss about the discovery of protons and neutrons, the other fundamental particles. So after the cathode ray experiment or cathode ray discharge tube, So the scientists have discovered the particles carrying. So from the cathode ray discharge tube, we can know that the cathode rays are negatively charged. So from that experiment, so they have discovered that the particles carrying a positive charge. So these are known as canal rays or anode rays. But here the nature of these canal rays depends on the nature of gas. Whereas in the cathode ray they are independent of the gas, but here these canal rays depends on the nature of the gas. But and EMF of the anode rays is not similar to that of electron. Why? Because in the case of cathode rays, the E by M value, that means in that cathode rays, it is independent of here. But here, this value depends on the nature of the gas. Nature of the gas. So the behavior of these positive rays is opposite to that of electrons. We know that the positive charge and negative charge will be completely different and opposite to each other. So when they are placed in either electric field and magnetic field. So we know that the electrons which is having negative charge, they bend towards the positive pole, whereas the positive rays which are having positive charge bend towards negative pole. Negative pole. So the smallest and lightest positive ion which is obtained from hydrogen gas, so that is known as proton. So from this they discovered the positively charged particle, that is proton. So the mass of proton is this 1.672 into 10 power minus 24 grams, and the charge is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. So this is the EMF value of proton. So which is 9.58 into 10 power 7 coulombs per kilogram. So this is the E by M value of proton. E by M value of proton. So this is the charge of proton and this is the mass of proton. Mass of proton. Next fundamental particle that was discovered by Chadwick. So that fundamental particle was known as neutron. So it was discovered by Chadwick. How? By bombardment of beryllium with alpha particle. So this is alpha particle. This is alpha particle. So this is beryllium nucleus. So when beryllium nucleus is bombarded with the alpha particle, so we are getting, so 9 plus 4, 13, so 12 plus 1, 13. So 4 plus 2, 6, we know that neutron does not have this. So see, this is about neutron. In the same way, aluminum nucleus also, when it is bombarded with helium particle, so we are getting a phosphorus, with that neutrons will be emitted. So from this only they discovered that about this neutron. So if you see the properties of neutrons, so neutrons were not deflected by either magnetic fields or electric field. That indicates that they are neutral particle. The charge is 0. But the mass of neutrons is found to be slightly higher than proton. Higher than proton. So this is the mass of the neutron. So from this we can come to conclusion that electron is the lightest fundamental particle, whereas neutron is the heaviest fundamental particle, and proton will be intermediate between these two fundamental particles. So in the next class we'll discuss about atomic number, mass number, and the different types of isotopes and isobars we will discuss.